What's up, y'all? This is Dreams, episode 3. Um, I got one of my buddies, Aswan North, joining us today. He is a lead singer of a band that I used to travel with. He's since gone on to produce and write. Interesting. Might be a signal problem this morning, but here we go. I see Mr. Aswan North has just joined us. Let's pump him in here.
You hear me clearly?
Yeah, man.
All right. So how's it going, Joe? What's going down?
Oh, not too much, man. Thanks for joining us on Dreams. This is a really cool, way to kind of get to people what it is that we musicians do in the course of a career, in the course of a lifetime. And yeah, maybe if you want to start, you can, when you get situated there, introduce yourself, tell a little the crowd what you do, and then we'll go into the next segment.
Okay. Well, my name is Aswan, and I got my start in the music industry as a professional back in 2006, and I was still independent, and I ended up signing into a record label at Universal back in 2007, and then went even more official by 2008 and committed to a big contract and some tours. And we had some small success. It was a lot of fun, and didn't know at the time that I was more than just a singer and a writer, that I actually also was a producer, that I had the ear for mixing, but I'm not an engineer, and so I didn't know how that worked. And just thankfully I had a great team of people around me that pointed me in the right direction. And next thing you know, by 2010, I'm in the studio also producing records, writing for other artists, getting called in by different labels, managers, independents, and I've never turned back. I retired from my regular job in 2006, and by 2010, thanks to also being a producer writer, on top of being out, touring internationally and tons of national work, man, I've been able to just live a life in the music biz, and then got some calls for consulting, and I used to do consulting for free, and then it really, crept up into a big workload. And so by 2015, I actually started taking on full contracts and becoming more of a regular in the consulting world and getting paid and getting asked to consult on various kinds of projects with inventors, with city council and little cities and all around North Carolina. So I've just had fun, man, because of the music business, to live a really creative, unique lifestyle. And so today I own some music festivals. Also in the middle of developing a production school for a pretty amazing guy. I'll keep that on wraps until we're ready to launch that publicly. Everything, all thing music, that's all I do.
Right on. As well, maybe walk us through some of those moments in your life, starting with we like to ask everyone their first memory of music. So if you're able to recall that, and then those moments that have kept you pursuing music to this day.
Yeah, my first memory, I can share that. I think I was 4 years old, and me and my sister, my older sister Kamat, we were orphaned when I was 2.5 years old, and I was in foster care, and social workers were taking us around the city of Jacksonville, North Carolina, to different families to see where we fit in and who could look after us. And we were going back and spending almost every night at an orphanage called the Eubank House. And we ended up one weekend with the family that ultimately ended up adopting us, and they took us to, and the man was a drill sergeant in the United States Marine Corps, who eventually became my father. His name is Junior Edward North, and my mom, he was married to Dolly North. She passed away, God rest her soul, in '09. But they took us to this like carnival on the Marine Corps base called Camp Lejeune. I was 4 years old, and they walked over to this stage. There's a Ferris wheel on a bunch of rides, cotton candy, you know how it goes. And we go over to this stage where there's a band performing, and there's this beautiful blonde-haired woman up there singing, and it's my real mom, which was, it's still, even to think about it today, it was bizarre, it was shocking, it was a freak moment. And I tried to get on the stage because I knew my mom. I got to visit her like at least once a month, but I didn't know she was a performer. I didn't know she could sing, and God knows I didn't know she had a band. But there she was up there, just doing a full-on concert. And she has an incredible voice. And I was just a 4-year old. I didn't understand it, but I was just like, wow, is that what we do? I just, that was my first memory with where music had an impact on me, and it was more than just listening to a song on a record player or in the car, or back when I was a kid in my mom's living room on 8 tracks. Because we would be, I kind of shows you my age. Um, but anyways, long story short, that was my first memory, and then my first full experience was I was in second grade, and my sister Kamat. We fast forward a little bit. She did the talent show at Summerstill Elementary School, and I was so embarrassed for myself and for her as a little selfish kid because my sister, why did she have to do such an embarrassing thing and join this talent show in front of the whole school? And she went up there and she sang a Mandrell sister song, or maybe it was Olivia. I don't, Matt could tell you, but she gets up there and she does all right, but I couldn't believe she had the guts to do that, and I didn't really like the performance, but I was embarrassed, and I also had a sensation of, I wonder if I could do that. And then later, if you fast forward to the fourth grade, for me, I was at a summer camp. My dad dropped me off. It was a military base, and a bunch of moms, military moms, got together and agreed to do the summer camp for all of us kids who were bored out of our gourd. And all of us got asked if we wanted to do a talent show. And my favorite song in the world was "It Takes Two to Make a Thing Go Right." And I was like, I'm gonna do the talent show and I'm gonna perform that song. And I won second place. And that was when I kind of had the bug that, man, I might be able to rap or sing or something like this, because I just got second place and I ain't never done nothing like this in my life. And so those are my first three experiences with music, and how it all got planted in me to become, more than just a fan of music, but to actually be an artist in music.
Hmm. What take us into like your teenage years, your preteen, when you started to like sing with other people, maybe play with other people, when you started to form some type of duo group, anything.
Okay, well, I was locked up in Fayetteville, North Carolina. At the end, halfway through seventh grade, I got locked up. It was my second time getting locked up. I was always in something violent. I guess you would call that a troubled teen. I didn't see myself as that. I look back, I wasn't really hung up and on anything. I didn't really feel disadvantaged, even though I was. I was just willing to pop off and get in the fight at a moment's notice. And so, anyways, I had an altercation with a school teacher where she ended up falling over and hitting the ground, and I ended up getting escorted off the property. And the very next day, North Carolina, and locked up for 5 months in a ROTC unit for adolescents, right outside of Fort Bragg military base. And thankfully, my dad was a part of the military because his special insurance that he had paid for that. So they were allowed to keep me there, where I think he was paying like, I don't know, $1,000 a day. The insurance policy was taking care of it. I don't know. But anyways, thankfully, there was a really good staff there, and I was put in a co-ed unit. We weren't like sleeping boys and girls next to each other. They had one half of the facility, the girls' dorm was, the other half, the boys' dorm, and in the very middle, this big, huge space was the common ground where we all would be brought together and we'd hang out. We had our living room, we had our kitchen. And as boys and girls are, and you're teenagers, everybody's trying to figure out who they're going to date or go out with, or have as a girlfriend or boyfriend. And also, you're just trying to be too cool for school. And this one kid came in from Augusta, Georgia, for stealing cars. One of my friends from Jacksonville came in for robbing houses. And man, we just knew we were cool because we weren't there for things that actually today are really dear to my heart. So some kids were in there for suicide attempts, for being some folks were there for some really dangerous stuff. But we thought we were cooler and that we should maybe become like the leaders of this entire group of kids. And I found out that my buddy from Augusta, I'm trying to remember his name, I think it was Odell was his name. Anyways, he said he could sing, and I'm like, well, I can sing, and I didn't know if I could sing or not. And so we put on Silk, and I think the song we were learning how to sing was "Freak You." I wanna get
Freak me, baby.
Oh yeah, freak me, baby. Oh Lord, forgive me. I would never say that in front of my kids today. But and they're out here somewhere. They're probably down at the pond. But anyways, we put on that song and we started teaching ourselves it. And then there was this. Anyways, there was another group that never really made it into like fame or long-lasting fame, but they were famous back then. You would know their name, Joel, if I could think of them. But We rehearsed
Another like four guy group, you mean?
yeah, but they were three guys. Gosh, I wish I could. Intro. You remember the group named Intro? Two guys, two or three guys. They were called Intro. So it was
Maybe
Silk
not.
Intro, and this is back when ooh, da 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 da. Oh, who's that group? Shy.
That was Shy.
So we
Shy.
learned-
If
so we
I ever
learned-
fall in love.
So dude,
Yeah.
so then we learned Shy. So by the time we went through Silk Intro and we got to Shy, if I ever fall, whatever that how that goes. When we got that, dude, we were on point. We thought we were going to be the next R&B teenage sensation. So we did a talent show in the kitchen living room on the ROTC, and man, and I was like, I really had this really great feeling for Odell, like to be my partner in crime, to go out in the world and become a pop star, and he felt the same way. And we kept saying when we got out of lockup, we were going to be able to reconnect with one another, because I mean, when I'm saying we were on lockdown, there was all these male staff and female staff to take care of the female units, and we were all walking a single file line on breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We had to go to school. Oh my God, it was a nightmare. But the little bit of time we got every day, about 40 minutes, to really play around, me and Odell used that time to learn how to sing these songs. And we did it every day for like 3 months, and we were addicted to it. And we just knew when we got out, we'd meet each other in the real world and become famous. And we never saw each other again after I got out of lockup. I don't even know what happened to that guy, but I sure do miss him. But that's just a childhood thought, and that was my first group. And I had a few others later on. And so fast forward to the 10th grade, I put together an entire rap group. We called ourselves the Ballistics at Jacksonville High School. Student body count about 1,600 students. And we joined a talent show, and we won first place in the hip-hop division, and it was 3 boys and 1 girl. And the only reason I knew why we were going to win, I had this friend, her name was Nikki. She was a star basketball player, and she always did up her hair like the Brat. And she had these incredible braids, always wore a headband. She walked around the school with her book bag and her basketball in her hand, and she was cool as all get out. This is back in the Wu-Tang days where everybody had to be a hardcore thug. And but this girl, nobody messed with her. She wasn't mean or violent, but she was just too cool for school as a basketball player. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna write her a rap. I'm gonna see if she wants to do it, and if she does it, we're gonna win the talent show because we got a girl. And sure enough, she said yes. We taught her how to do the rap. We went out on that stage and we won that talent show, because when Nikki jumped on the stage, the whole school went ape. And they just the judges knew they had to give it to us because nobody had a response like that, and it was all because I put a girl in our rap group. It was not because we were all that gifted. So, anyway, there you have it.
So after 10th grade, what got you, I guess, involved to where you ended up getting signed by a major label? What was that transition from 10th grade to where you got signed?
Well, I'll tell you like this. So right after that happened, we got involved in a two states competition, state of North and South Carolina, the same group, and we entered against a bunch of adults and all. And we went to a nightclub called Lurisi's in Jacksonville. And we auditioned and we played our music, and we went and bought a beat for like $100 from a dude in a trailer park, so we could have our own music. We wrote our own hooks and everything to it, and we won 2 statewide talent show and beat out all these adults to open up for Boys the Men on the Camp Geiger military base. God, I don't know. There's probably like 30,000 people that came to this concert, and their opener was Adina Howard. And it just so happened that one of the boys in my group, his name was Ronnie, and Ronnie's dad owned an RV, and he was also a ex-military. He was retired. And, you know, they lived in a just regular old school, lower income neighborhood, but he had a beautiful RV he had parked in his driveway. It was his pride and joy. And he freaked out so hardcore when he found out that we had won a chance to go open for Boys and Men that he let us roll up in that RV like it was our tour bus. And I remember we parked our RV right behind the 4 tour buses. It was amazing. These experiences as a teenager were mind blowing. Right behind the 4 different buses of Boys and Men. Each one of them had their own tour bus. And there was another tour bus just for their management and their staff and team. And so when we parked our RV, we got to go over to the tour bus, which I thought we were about to meet Boys and Men, but it was just their like tour manager and all, shake hands. They told us how our schedule was going to go for the day. We come back to our RV, and next thing we know, knocking at our front door is a woman from the music videos, and sure enough, it's Adina Howard, and she had just shown up on an airplane, and she needed a bathroom, and none of the tour buses would let her in. And so we were like, yeah, you can use the bathroom. So we opened up. Adina Howard came in. She used our bathroom. And then everybody else didn't want to use that bathroom or flush it after that happened, because Adina Howard had sat down on it. It's just a horrible teenage, dream. Anyways, that was a crazy moment. And then the weirdest thing and the most horrible thing that can happen to a teenage group happened. Here we are, this crazy local rap group. We're ready for our hometown to see us. And it rains and they had to push back the concert. They finally let the news out that they're gonna go ahead and go on with the show, but they had to cancel all openers, and the only one that got to open for Boyz II Men was Adina Howard. And they tried to make up for it, the staff, the tour management, by giving us a whole bunch of VIP, and we still didn't even get to be around Adina or Anita Howard or whatever, or Boyz II Men. We didn't get to go backstage for real. We were just kids. That's when we realized, oh, dude, we're nothing but no-name kids. We're just trash, thrown to the wind. We weren't making any money. We just wanted to be on that stage, and that really put a bug in me. It let me know that there was something about this drive in me that could go somewhere with music. But long story short, I ended up getting a lot of personal trouble. Finally got locked up in county jail. Got out of that by getting some money brought to me by a friend. Getting really put my family in danger with some death threats and some of my friends who had got their house shot up, and I was selling illegal military machine gun, Tec-9 machine guns, riding around in stolen cars. I mean, I won't get into the whole history because it wasn't like I was the hero of that thug fantasy. I was just one of the young dudes hanging out with these older cats that they liked me enough to let me go on for the joyride of a lifetime, which I thought was cool, being some real thug and selling dope and making money and walking around as a 16, 17, 8-year-old kid with always $2,000 to $3,000 on me. All my kids and all my friends in high school didn't have that kind of money, wearing all the clothes I wanted, buying my Crocodile jeans and my Timberland boots and my Nautica button-down shirts, always going and getting my hair plaited by the coolest, hood girls that you could find on planet Earth, and thinking I was just something. And I was in and out of jail a lot, and ended up getting to a serious situation with court. And thanks to my dad, who was retired, helping getting me out of that one. I could have faced federal penitentiary for 21 years if I get into all of it. I mean, you could buy my criminal record. It's not anything fancy or cool. I just got in a lot of trouble, and so I ended up turning my life around. In the South, we all are forced to go to church growing up, and so I met Jesus, and it was probably the only thing that was ever going to change me is meeting God. And I had a whole new outlook on life after I almost got murdered five different times before I changed my life around, and then 3 times after I was trying to do good and stay out of trouble. Just always really running my mouth, brave and bold until it got going rough, and then I had to try to survive. And long story short, I kept finding my way out of more and more trouble into where I was hanging out with different people. Instead of finding me around any of the homies or the thugs out in New River, you could find me hanging out in Bible studies and going on mission trips and getting my head straight and realizing that I was really a wannabe. I just always wanted to be something that I never really was, because I wanted to feel more better about what my life was going to be, and would I be rich one day, would I be famous one day. And so long story short, music disappeared out of my life from the age of 18 until probably right around the age of 21. And at 21, I got the chance to go to a school of ministry in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they were doing tryouts, placement evaluations for bands, and they had like 80 bands at this school, and I had never seen anything like it. And Don Potter, who's a legend in Nashville, he's on 100 number 1 hit records, was the main head guy over this music department. Susie Yari, which back then was Susie Wills, which was the lead background singer for a time in her career for Reba McEntire, she was there. Leonard Jones, who had a lot of different involvement with a lot of different bands, and rumors where he was I don't know if this is true, I'd have to ask him. I think he was a part of being in the crew or the family of Leonard Skinner, and but he did a lot of really great work, incredible musicians who kind of taught us, raised us up, and I got my chance at writing my own songs and learning how to play the guitar, learning how to play the djembe, teach how to play the piano. I'm like, where the heck is this coming from? How do I know how to play all these instruments by ear? Every time I sat down to a new instrument, I could just play a song that I could hear in my head, and it was freaky. And then when I decided I needed to write a song so I could be on stage with everybody, because you couldn't be on their stages at Morningstar unless you wrote your own material, and I wanted to be on that stage. There's something in me, and I felt like God was telling me, you belong there. And so I started writing songs. I mean, I wrote 100 songs in 1999. And every week I was on that stage at least 4 times a week doing worship sets with all these incredible musicians. And then I started learning how to do improv, where you just go up on stage and they're playing whatever chords, and you make up a melody and you make up a lyric, and you just try to sing prophetically good encouragement lyrics over people's lives, over a city's life, over a nation, over your own self, and over the outcome of your future. And that led me into, I think, really being open-minded to what my life will become. Encounter by 2002, where God gave me an encounter. I had an encounter. This is freak. I don't tell people this a lot, but I had an encounter with 3 angels, and I knew I was supposed to sign a secular record deal. And that may sound weird to some, but that's just how I knew that's where I was supposed to go. And so I started setting everything in my life up to figure out how to position myself to get an opportunity to have my talent recognized. And I can honestly say I never went knocking on doors or freaking out. I just kept getting better and better at doing music with tons of musicians in my city and building events. And long story short, MySpace came about, put my music up on MySpace, and a buddy said, hey man, I could go and redesign your MySpace page and personalize it. And that was really hip, because it was one thing to get your own MySpace page, but if one of your homies could come and like personalize it, knows how to build websites graphically and all, I mean, it just made you look dope. And I put my music up on MySpace that I started getting recorded, and I got a chance by being discovered by Brian West, who was Nelly Furtado's producer. He saw my MySpace, and he told the homie that showed him, he said, hey man, I am like a bird on its highway. He co-wrote that song with Nelly, so he wasn't just a producer, he was a writer. So he told my buddy Lee Carpenter, tell this kid Aswan to come to my studio next week. And so Lee didn't want to tell Brian that I didn't live in L.A., because Brian was out in L.A., so he just calls me and says, bro, and I'm in Jacksonville, North Carolina, broke. What's the, chances of you being able to get on a plane and come to California? I said, none. Why? What's up? He's like, well, dude, Nelly Furtado's producer just saw your stuff on MySpace today. He freaked out. I was showing him an Allen and a Heath board for American Music and Sound, and that was Lee's job. And he's like, I just decided to pull you up on the internet. And he was like, tell you to come by the studio. Dude, this could be something. Brian's no joke. I'm like, okay, give me about a week or two. I'm going to find the money. So I started praying like, God, you got to help me out. You got to show me how to do this. And at that time in my life, I'm listening to Mute Math, and I'm like a Mute Math head. And I'm always driving wherever I'm going, listening to Mute Math. And they had on one song, I think it was called Break the Same. And at the end of Break the Same, it's like a 7-8 minute song. There's a bunch of instrumentation going on. And I just start writing this hook to my situation. I can't wait to get a ride to California, because it makes sense to go to California. If Hollywood is where it's at, let's go to California. And I didn't have any money. And so I started kind of factoring that into my little improv that I was doing. I'm like, wow. And then I showed it to a friend who didn't really believe in it, that I recorded a lot of demos with. He's like, that's too pop. That's not going to work. Let's not do that. And so I just kind of kept that in the back of my head. But I said, you know what? I'm just going to go ask a bunch of my church friends if they'll just get me some money. And I met this kid on the University of Georgia at a Bible study and a prayer meeting, UGA. And he told me once, he said, hey, man, if you ever need help, man, to get your music recorded, because he had heard me leading worship that night, he was like, man, I just feel like I could help you. Just hit me up. And so I called this cat after I went around to a bunch of houses, a bunch of people in the church. He got maybe about $300, which wasn't going to work. I called this cat. He gives me $2,500 and says, can that get you to L.A.? I was like, bro, I could stay in L.A. for a week. And so I bought myself a plane ticket. I called up another homie who worked at a homeless shelter called the Dream Center. He was like, dude, you ain't even got to get a hotel room. You can come crash at the Dream Center. So I went and stayed with a bunch of ex-crack addicts, gang members, drug dealers that were staying at this homeless shelter that were getting their life right. And I waited for 7 days to get my meeting with Brian West, and he kept putting it off because he didn't know I didn't live there. He thought I could just reschedule. It was close to Christmas 2006. And I think it was like a week before Christmas. My gosh. So long story short, on the day I got to fly out, this is not a joke, 2.5 hours before my flight, I get the call from Lee. Hey, dude, he's ready to see you right now. And I'm just freaking out. I get a taxi. This is before the days of Uber. I get a taxi from the Dream Center down in Silver Lake, California, over to Hollywood, California, which is just like, they're all L.A., Hollywood. And get to go up to Brian West's room and walk into a studio, and come to find out here he owns the studio that used to be owned by Dr. Dre and Warren G. And I'm freaking out like, oh my God, my dreams, I'm seeing it. And I sit down, and what I had done was I recorded a new demo, which ended up coming out on my debut record with Universal. I recorded a brand new single called Everybody. And I played it for him about what me and he lost his mind. Like, dude, this is a new sound. You guys are on to something. I can reproduce that. all right, let's talk some numbers when you get back home. 1st of January, February, we'll figure it out. I get back on I literally do that meeting. We spend 40 minutes together. I rush to the airport. I get on my plane. I'm in my imagination and fantasy, living the dream. And I get home and everything is all roads to LA. And a crazy occurrence has happened after that. I was able to raise some crazy Freakazoid money and get back to LA and start working with Brian and record records, and the rest is history. That was probably long-winded.
No, it's a great story, and especially how music, it doesn't wait for anybody, and you knew you had that one chance to make it before your flight, and you took it. You know, you could have said, maybe it wasn't the right thing because it didn't work out, but you're like, nah, if it's supposed to be, I'm going to meet with Brian West, and I'm going to still make this plane. Or even if you don't make it, they're not going to charge me to reschedule. You just felt good about making that decision. And that's what I want to lead into with this last question. What thoughts would you give someone who is trying to pursue music as a career, as a passion? Besides, never give up.
Well, whatever the heart can believe, the heart can achieve. That's first. Write that down and don't even lose it. Also, this is a crazy quote. Never take a no from a person that doesn't have the power to give you a yes. Write that down. That ain't no joke. That right there, I got that before, I was in my 20s. Never take a no from a person that doesn't have the power to give you a yes. Think about that one. I learned that watching Oprah Winfrey one afternoon at my mom and dad's house when she introduced this brand new doctor by the name of Dr. Phil. And it was his first appearance on Oprah, and I'm sure if you go back through the history tapes and watch it, that's the quote he dropped. And I was like, whoa, that's me. I ain't taking a no from nobody. And I'm hyperactive ADD, used to be on Ritalin, and so I've always had the curse of optimism for some, the blessing or the gift in my world and in my friends' imaginations for others. I loved having this overrated, big, blockbuster, childlike imagination on life. And that's what it takes, it takes childlike faith. You literally have to stop being so adult-minded up here that, like a kid, yeah, I can jump that ramp and land it on my BMX, though I've never done anything like the magazines, yet I think I can, and I think I can. And so never take a no from a person that doesn't have the power to give you a yes. And sometimes you need to strip yourself from the power to give yourself a yes when yourself is really negative and really doubtful of what you are and what you can be. So you can't even take a no from yourself sometimes, because your no it is coming from a place that doesn't really have the power to give you a yes because it's not your best self. And so for me, everything points back to my faith in God. That was really the ingredient that helped me. I could give a lot of people a lot of quotes and a lot of things that helped me, but nothing pushed me over the edge like my relationship with Christ. Like, I would go into prayer and be like, man, God, I don't know if I ain't this person. How am I going to get a record deal or any stuff? Like, I don't got nothing here to give anybody. I cannot out-sing most people I meet. I definitely can't outright them. I didn't believe I was even a real performer. But I would hear God say, this is who you are. And I eliminated my own voice and started trusting the voice that I knew to be God in me, speaking to me, saying, you can do this, man. This is who you are. And I started believing a better voice than my own and those around me. And it empowered me. And then it became a voice. Long story short, that voice became my voice. Let me turn off my ringer so that doesn't happen again. And long story short, what I would say to somebody else too practically is, I don't want to, bombard you with religion, but I can give you some guidelines and some tools that really help me. And it may not help you, but this is what helped me. Because now I'm living, an incredible life that I could have never even imagined for me and my family. And it's shocking the way that I get to live. But I got my hands on a book called Think and Grow Rich. The original title of that text from 1917 is called the 16 Irrefutable Laws of Success. You got to do some research to find that one. But it later got retitled to Think and Grow Rich. And there's something that the author says that is so elementary and easy to do, but most people, 99.9% of the people that read the book will never do it. And they'll never do it, he means, for 30 days. They might do it for day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, but they'll never do it. Because they won't do it, they'll never reach their full potential. And it's this. Write down where you want to be, how you want to live in, how you want to be living, and what you intend to give to be there and to be living that way, and speak it over yourself in the morning and at the evening before you fall asleep. So when you wake up, speak it. I did it today. I did it last night, yesterday. I've done it. I'm being faithful to it. And here I am, now in my 40s, and I still do it. Write this down and speak it over yourself, and watch what happens within 30 days. Listen, guys, the first time I did that in 30 days, I had over $300,000 in my bank account. And before that even happened, I'd already closed a $1.5 million record deal at Universal. But all that was happening because of how I was practicing things that were beyond my imagination, where I was getting somebody else's imagination of what we can become as people to help grow my imagination of what I could become as a person. And so that book is my foundational book for self-help. A lot of times we need to help ourselves. You keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same things. If you change up what you're doing, you'll change up what you're getting. And I needed these small quotes. You listen to Michael Jordan in certain documentaries, you'll hear him drop some of this knowledge. You listen to some of the great creators, you listen to people like, do interviews or go speak and give speeches at colleges and universities like Denzel Washington or Will Smith or Jim Carrey. You'll hear these men drop this knowledge, and they don't play no games, and they're living their best life now, at least in your imagination, and that's the life you want to live. And so these are the things that I started doing from that book, and that's what I would encourage anyone and everyone. Get your hands on Think and Grow Rich. Do everything that book asks you to do, and you tell me what's happening to you in 30 days. And that's the number one piece of advice that I give people if we're not going to get religious about it.
Right on. I know you're also starting to do a podcast, and to share a little bit about that, where can people find you outside of Instagram and your regular channels? What's this podcast about, and when can we expect that?
Well, as always, Joel, you know more than most people, and you're a keeper of all the secrets. What I'll say is this: I'm not known for being a social media guy, but I've been under training since last year. I'm training to develop, my understanding and abilities with social media with a really crazy team, and because I've signed into a partnership just mainly on media social platforms, and we're taking a few meetings with a few folks that are going to help us launch it. I need to keep it under wraps, but I'll post it. Just check out my Facebook page or Instagram if you even care to. I'm not really a big buff on it yet, but you'll see it if you keep any tabs on me. If I matter to that, it'll come out at the right time, and I'll release it. I'm pretty excited about it. I've got a 2-part podcast series coming out, and it's so hot and so awesome. I don't even want to drop the names yet, and it's really awesome because I enjoy it. I don't know that it's going to be awesome for others, but what I enjoy, I'm not ashamed of, and I enjoy sharing and talking about my experiences. I mean, who would have thought, fast forwarding to who I am today, I used to be an orphan, that I would own a music festival. Last year, we sold 12,000 tickets. This year, if it wasn't for COVID-19, we were on point to do 16,000 to 20,000 ticket sales a night, 2 nights in a row. Next year, no doubt, Labor Day weekend, we'll release that information later. We will, thanks to some of our friends that, I won't even say it, but anyways, we're growing as a festival company, but I would have never imagined I could own a music festival and see bands that I believe in and love growing up as a kid, and others that are hot and on the scene today be willing to let me book them and get them out there. I mean, Joel, you know a lot about that, so give me a little bit of time. I keep a lot on my plate for a reason. I'd rather have a lot of options than hardly any. And thanks to having a really good team around me, they're working on it, and they're helping guide me on how to do it right, and we want to monetize it. And so I'll put the information out soon.
Right on. Well, Mr. North, thanks for joining us. This is Dreams, y'all, and this has been episode 3. Make sure you check us out on YouTube following the IG Live 24-hour window. Peace, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Shalom.
Have a good one.